This is an update to yesterday's video on the proposed filter ban in Minecraft speedrunning. Based on the community's feedback and the response from the moderators, it seems very unlikely that filters are going to be entirely banned. There have been a number of issues raised by the community, ranging from aesthetic issues to accessibility concerns. There has not been a consensus on what the best solution would look like, in terms of how the rules would be written, but the general vibe is that most people don't want the preemptive arrow to be allowed, but they do want removing the background behind the pi numbers to be allowed. There's a bit more uncertainty around stacked mirrors. I wanted to provide some examples of what stacked mirrors are. This is what a stacked mirror looks like when being used for the mapless block entities number. The position of the block entity's value in the list of pie chart entries can move up and down, but the 0.06 that you see there, the output of that number is always staying in the same place. This is because we have multiple mirrors, one looking at each line of every possible place that the block entity's value can be, and then the outputs are all going on to the same overlapped place. This is what the pie chart mirror would look like without any filters. Here's what it would look like with the background removed, and with the output color changed. If we increase the scale, it looks more normal. Here's the problem with not using stacked mirrors. When the block entity's value goes up to the top of the pie chart, the number moves up here. You can see as I turn to face the shipwreck, the number moves position up to here, and the spike gets even bigger, and it goes all the way up to the top. This is still okay for reading the number. It's just annoying to have the number moving around and it doesn't look good. I believe there's ways the rules can be made to allow strategies that the community does want and restrict ones that they don't want. The preemptive arrow example, where an arrow shows up when the preemptive pi numbers match a specific value. This was a complicated setup that one runner did a couple of years ago as an example. This isn't something people actually use in runs. It involves stacking multiple cropped copies of the game capture source in OBS, applying color key and color correction filters to them, and having them cover up the arrow until the specific conditions are met. There's multiple ways this could be addressed. Either this specific strategy could be called out as something you're not allowed to do, or there could be specific limitations on how you're allowed to implement stacked mirrors, such as a minimum size requirement, or other restrictions on how the stacking is implemented and what it achieves. I also want to address this clip from Feinberg.
I think JoJo's suggestion is kind of funny. I mean, I haven't talked to the guy in a while, so I don't know. I mean, I never really talked to the guy. I think it's so funny that he's like, oh, let's just allow this like middle ground where things are like gonna kind of be okay, whatever. And it's like, JoJo's literally the entire reason why the calculator exists in the first place the way that it does, because he was abusing a middle ground for like a year, like easily the entire reason. And his suggestion is, oh, let's just have this middle ground again. And it's like, okay, that's funny. Like, I think it's hypocritical. I haven't talked to the guy in 3 years. Maybe his opinion's changed, but I'm like, dude, like, of course you want to allow this. Like, oh, let's let this thing, this one thing allowed that I like. And it's like, oh, you can do this. And it's like, well, you can make 500 filters in OBS and like 2 GB spreadsheet. Like, so boring.
First of all, my spreadsheet was 121 gigabytes. I have always, especially a few years ago, tried to exploit any loophole that I can find in the rules, so I can understand where his concerns are coming from. I don't want the preemptive arrow to be allowed. I do want background removal and stacked mirrors to continue to be allowed for the main things that people are using them for. If I wanted to push the bounds even more and try to get stuff allowed, like the preemptive arrow, I would be proposing different rule changes. My main proposal has been a whitelist system, and stuff like the preemptive arrow would never end up on that whitelist. I've barely done any speedrunning in the last year. I don't have a lot to gain from this. If I do play again, I would like my block entities number to still work, but most of my time in MCSR is spent outside of the game. Thanks to everyone for providing your opinions in the comments and in the Discord. I'm hopeful that good changes will be made to the rules.